election law, obviously another no-no. A national left-wing media correspondent, CNN's Jim Acosta, whining after being heckled by Trump supporters at the rally in Tampa last night. The massive crowd booing and chanting. There he is, as he tried to broadcast his very important report on live television. And apparently he was triggered somewhat. Later on, Acosta blamed President Trump and quote-unquote media for the incident. Acosta tweeted this: "Just a sample of the sad scene we faced at the Trump rally in Tampa. I'm very worried that the hostility whipped up by Trump," that would be President Trump to you, sir, "and some in conservative media will result in somebody getting hurt. We should not treat our fellow Americans this way. The press is not the enemy." Acosta has made a judgment there. It's kind of interesting. Acosta's tweet ignoring the fact that CNN promotes the radical Dem agenda and endlessly attacks President Trump and his supporters. And he's awfully delicate to be in this racket. Very delicate indeed. Joining us now, Candace Owens, Communications Director for Turning Point USA, the Daily Caller's editorial director, Vince Colonnese. Great to have you with us, Vince.
Thank you.
Let me start, Candace, with you. Apparently, CNN has a very sensitive White House correspondent. What do you think?
I think it's quite hilarious, and I love that you use the adjective delicate to describe him, when the treatment of how these anchors have treated the American people has been anything but delicate. They've been quite nasty. In fact, I endure attacks from Jake Tapper all the time on my Twitter feed. He's never had so much as a conversation with me. But just knowing that I'm a black woman that happens to support Donald Trump is enough for him to come after me and the organization that I work for, Turning Point USA. This is them basically sowing what they reap is what's going on here. They have treated us deplorably, really, since Hillary's election. They're not satisfied with the fact that the results have been that Donald Trump is in the Oval Office, and that's what we're seeing taking place. The American people is responding to the way that CNN has treated them.
You know, Candace, I couldn't agree with you more. And Vince, I mean, if Acosta's one of those guys who seems if he weren't whining, he wouldn't be saying anything at all.
Well, he loves this. The spotlight's on Jim Acosta. This is increasing the number of Twitter followers he has, and that's really what it's all about. So, one of the things he put out was this notion that he can't believe, he remembers when we were all on the same team. He had Trump supporters asking him, "Why aren't you on our team?" And he's like, he's lamenting the disunity. But, of course, he's played a massive role in that disunity. And instead of being introspective, instead of thinking, well, what is the problem here? Why is there a trust deficit with CNN? He thinks to himself, well, all of these people must be deficient. There must be something wrong with them that they don't like me. When they're standing there chanting CNN sucks, first of all, I'm kind of nodding in agreement because that's sort of an obvious point. And the other thing is that he's making the case that this is somehow a threat to the First Amendment, that somehow they're impeding on his ability to be a member of the free press. Yeah. They're not, actually. They're joining the chorus. This is a symphony, brother. You're standing there trying to give your report, and meanwhile, in the background, the American people, in this case Trump supporters, are adding some color to the actual news that you're supposed to be presenting. That's a news camera, baby, and it's picking up news. They think you suck.
Well, and, it is interesting that the national left-wing media in particular, they will be the first to say, well, we have to ignore the consequences. We have to attack the president no matter what, as if they were on, I don't know what they're thinking, other than ideologically. And suddenly they get a response from the audience, and those people, whether Trump supporters or otherwise, are part of the audience, Candace, and they're giving them immediate feedback that they do not appreciate the left-wing media tearing up the president every day in every way they can.
That's exactly right. Let's just think about how CNN has portrayed Trump supporters as racists, as sexist, as misogynist, you name it. We have seen every single name on their network, that they are essentially standing behind a man that they like to liken to Hitler. They love to make comparisons that Donald Trump is literally Hitler. And they're shocked to see this reaction. They're shocked to see that the American people no longer stands on their side, if they ever stood on their side. CNN has had an air of elitism, looking down, sticking their nose down to the American people. And what you said is exactly right. They have no curiosity. They don't want to learn about the American people. They don't want to learn how they're feeling, how the rest of America, all of that land in between New York and LA is feeling. And this is the direct result of that.
And as we wrap up here, Vince, I mean, President Obama, former President Obama, coming out with his list of 88 endorsements that he is handing out. Right. I'm just thinking how thrilled that, frankly, Ronna McDaniel must be over the RNC, because here's his record during his 8 years in office. If we could put that up on the full screen. Here is the Obama legacy. 63 Dems lost House seats, 10 Dems lost Senate seats, 900 Republicans gained seats in state legislatures across the country, and 12 Republicans gained gubernatorial offices. Yeah. I got to believe that Ronna McDaniel is pretty thrilled right now with the Obama endorsements.
And not exactly the Midas touch, is it, Lou? No, everything Obama's touched in terms of the Democratic Party hasn't succeeded. It's kind of the weird paradox. And Democrats, if you get them just like 2 drinks in, they'll start to admit this. That's a reality. They realize, look, Obama helped himself. President Obama was very good for himself in terms of his political future. Sure. Not so good for the Democratic Party. Yet everywhere I see in the press today, they're all very excited about his picks. I don't know why, given his history.
Yeah, well, let's see if history repeats itself or is it continues anyway. Candace Owens, thank you so much. Vince Coglianese, thank you so much. Appreciate both of you being here.
Is now author of Why We Fight, Fox News national security strategist Dr. Sebastian Gorka, author of the brand new book, a bestseller, The Briefing, Politics, Press, and the People. Former White House press secretary, had the worst job in America. Now Sarah Sanders sadly has it. Why anybody wants that job, to deal with these people every day, is beyond me. Congrats, Sean, on the book. Their memories are short, because what happened to Pam Bondi and Secretary Nielsen, what happened to Sarah Sanders, is recent. The things that have been said about the president's son are fairly recent, and his granddaughter are recent. The things said about Melania, Ivanka, and so many others that are close to the first family. I don't remember Jim Acosta as the great champion standing up for the first family or calling them. I'd love to know if he ever called them and said, I'm so sorry what you've been through.
Well, Sean, look, I'm on a book tour right now, and they love playing clips about me getting heckled and intimidated. They think it's funny and amusing. So, look, I would associate my comments with your opening monologue. We have a country that allows people to express themselves freely, and that's what makes our country great. But at the same time, I agree with you. We need a free and fair press that is robust, but it should never, ever be under attack with intimidation or violence. If Jim Acosta has a problem with some of the ability of people to express themselves, he should look at his own unprofessional and disrespectful behavior, look in the mirror and wonder whether he's part of the problem. We should never be threatening anybody with violence. But it's interesting how he's only concerned with himself and his colleagues, as opposed to the violence that has come against the right, people like myself, Sarah, Secretary Nielsen, and others. I want to go out there and have a book to talk about, to exchange ideas with people, and have a civil debate. And they don't seem to worry about that sort of intimidation and that sort of disruption. It's only when it affects him.
Did Jim Acosta ever call you about the heckling that you received?
No, he was part of it. I mean, his unprofessional and disrespectful behavior is part of the problem. The way he treated the president the other day in that Rose Garden was disgraceful. He owes the president an apology. It is not his question that he is entitled to. It is the president's to give it to him. And as much as people may not like some of the...
This is important, because I've had the same experience, and every conservative I know has had the same experience. I don't come on TV and whine that I've been heckled, or people have tried to physically get to me, or that my life's been threatened, and that I've had people, literally threaten my life. It's happened more often than I care to exist. It's wrong. I think it's right. But it's not the same as chanting fake news and CNN sucks. And people have a right to freedom of speech, whether it's, again, Sean or me or Dr. Gorka. I'm sure you've experienced it as well.
Oh, have I ever, Sean? Look, I have to give my colleague Sean all the recognition. He was on the front line in the podium, but I was in the press briefing room. I'd sneak in, and from the back I'd watch. And Sean, Jim Acosta thinks it's his briefing room. I mean, he really thinks it's the Jim Acosta show. And it's not. It's the White House briefing room. He's got it backwards. Two metrics, just two metrics for both of you and for the viewers. Go back 20 years. Go back 40 years. And find for me when the White House press corps salivated over a Republican president. You won't find it.
Listen,
you won't find the hagiography.
We'll take it a step further. And I said this, and I'll go back and pull the tape, many, many times when Barack Obama was president. We must keep our politicians safe. And I'm telling, look, we're the highest rated show in cable thanks to this audience. If I am there, I will be the first person in to defend anybody in the press if anyone would dare to lay a hand on them. But chanting "you suck" is not the same as violence. People have a right to speak in this country.
It's not just the press, it's any American. No American should feel threatened to share their voice and their opinion. No American.
We give you the last word, Dr. Gorka.
But Republican politicians have never said, harass the other party, get in their faces. It's only the left, it's only the Democrats, and they need to get a grip on their party before things get worse, Sean.
Well, I challenge Jim to maybe talk to those people that threw poor Sarah Sanders out of a restaurant, and Pam Bondi and Secretary Nielsen, and he did have somebody that worked at his network that had a severed head. I know she got fired, of the president that his 12-year-old son saw. So let's start with ourselves.